Chinese maker BYD gets serious about the British market with this small EV hatch, the Dolphin. It looks better value and more practical than the established class alternatives, and there are a few quirky touches too. It's about time we had a wider range of more affordable super mini-sized EVs, and at last it looks like the choice is widening. Here's the BYD Dolphin, a cheerily named contender to take on established class favourites like the Vauxhall Corsa Electric and the Peugeot 𝗙dzie𝗹𝗹𝒄, as well as impending new ones like the reborn Renault 5. Theoretically, it ought to be called the Atto 2 because it slots in below the mid-sized Atto 3 crossover in the Chinese maker's range. But having chosen that conservative naming policy for the Atto 3, the brand has subsequently decided that a more youthful, exuberant feel is needed for its EVs. Hence this Dolphin, which sits above a small city car-sized EV model so far only available in China, the 𝗙cie𝗹𝗹𝒄. Keeping with the marine theme, BYD also has the 𝗙cie mid-sized EV saloon. The Dolphins are our focus here. What's this one like? Well, we're going to see. This, of course, is just the start of BYD's product offensive, overseen by a UK dealer network that'll grow from around 30 to around 100 outlets by 2025. By then, we may also be seeing this Shenzhen-based company's Yangwang premium EV brand, which will bring us luxury sports cars and SUVs. For the time being, though, let's focus on the Dolphin. To find out more, you'll need the usual comprehensive car and driving review. The Dolphin name suggests something quite agile, but from rest this BYD feels heavy and substantial for a little hatch of this size. Most EV super minis do. Is it really eco-friendly for a city-based runabout of this size to weigh nearly 1.7 tons? Answers on a postcard, please. But again, like most small EVs, once it gets going, there's a fair bit more zip than you'd usually get from a small hatch, well, up to 60 miles an hour anyway. In the bigger battery 60.4 kilowatt-hour model we're trying here, the Dolphin's front-mounted motor puts out more power than most likely owners will ever really need, 204 PS. There's almost too much, actually. Coming out of junctions or through tight corners, you sometimes feel the little stitched wheel writhing in your hands as the front wheels struggle to control the 310 Newton-meter torque delivery. Still, all that electric motor grunt allows 62 miles an hour to be dispatched in just 7 seconds on the way to a 99 mile an hour maximum if you select the most urgent of the 4 provided drive modes, Sport. The others are normal, snow, and the eco setting that you'll need to get anywhere near the claimed 265 mile drive range figure. To achieve this, you'll also need to regularly switch the brake regen setting from standard to high, though doing that won't give you the kind of arresting off-throttle retardation that you'll get with some rivals. There is another battery option, a smaller 44.9 kilowatt-hour power pack in the poverty spec models, but the available range figures might cause you to think twice before selecting it. 211 miles for the base 95 PS active variant and just 193 miles for the 176 PS boost model, which you'd really need if you were choosing this smaller battery because the active derivative's rather feeble motor is yawningly slow. There's nothing particularly engaging about the way this front-driven Dolphin handles round the bends. A rear-driven rival MG4 is much more enjoyable to punt along the back doubles. But that kind of capability is lost on most likely customers in this segment, and the stiff modular E-Platform 3.0 chassis this BYD uses, basically the same as that in the company's larger Atto 3 and 𝗙cie models, keeps body roll nicely in check through the turns. Through those curves, the light steering lacks feel, but it's precise enough to allow you to easily place the car where you want it. Steering's one of the things that you can alter in the center screen's Smart Chassis menu. Brake Assist is the other alterable option. Both have comfort and sport settings. Like all EVs, this one makes a noise at low speeds. The difference here, though, is that you can alter the sort of low-speed noise it makes, either a conventional ambient hum or, more joyfully, a sound like a tinkling ice cream van, which you'll either find endearing or, more likely, annoying. We'd prefer it if BYD had spent less time on fripperies like that and more on sorting Super Mini basics like the turning circle, which here isn't particularly tight. Ride quality is reasonably supple unless you opt for a base active spec, which for some reason does without the multi-link rear suspension that's fitted elsewhere in the range. We were impressed by the refinement on offer, which is difficult to better in the EV class. All electric vehicles are quiet, of course, but this one restricts road, wind and tyre noise better than most in its segment. Whether or not you like the look of this Dolphin will be a matter of personal preference, but there's no doubt that it's been sized cleverly, lengthwise splitting the difference between something like an electric Corsa or Peugeot 208 and slightly larger crossover style EV small hatches like the Volkswagen ID.3 and the Kia Niro EV. Just the kind of thing many customers might be looking for, provided they're not seeking any sort of crossover vibe, because rather refreshingly there's none of that here. You might rightly conclude that this BYD's most obvious rival, the MG4, is a little more arresting to look at, but the Dolphin does its best to attract your attention, especially in this top design guise. All versions of this car get coloured alloy wheels, usually of this 17-inch size, and there's also this rather smart latticed C-pillar. Plus this top design variant gets a contrast exterior colour, not only for the roof, but also rather unusually for the bonnet. At the front, curvy light strips underscore the little LED headlamps, while further down, below these black boomerang-shaped trim panels, the lower air intake is decorated with silver highlights. The rear encourages you to build your dreams. Script saying that built into this central light panel, which you'll either like or, more likely, find a touch embarrassing. Better are the silver and black bumper highlights, the dinky little rear wiper, the subtle roof spoiler and the sharp fin antenna that lies beyond it. It's all quite extrovert. Will the same be true inside? Well, yes. Whether you'll like it is perhaps another question. It doesn't feel cheap thanks to the soft touch plastics and the standard vegan leather upholstery. But there's the shiny coloured plastic vibe that seems to mark out small Chinese EVs these days. This Dolphin's 𝗙će𝗹𝗹ème Aura 3 Super Mini rival, for instance, most notably with these red accented blue hooded corner vents. You might find the two-tone dash and all the different services a bit much, especially on the unusually fashioned door cards, which in an eccentric touch feature these Dolphin flipper door handles. More shiny plastic features on the rather sporty looking stitched vegan leather trimmed flat bottom steering wheel, through which the usual conventional instrument binnacle is replaced by this compact, modern but rather cluttered 5-inch LCD display. And there are plenty of other somewhat strange touches, like this unusual gear selector, these curious dash top indents which reflect annoyingly on the bottom of the screen, the wave-like speaker grills, and in the case of this top model, these red-piped, blue-upholstered sports seats with their black bolsters. If you don't like unusual colour combinations, look away now. You might be wondering why the centre of the dash has this rather overly prominent lower storage area. It doesn't take long to find out. This big 12.8-inch central screen's rotating party piece requires it, as you can see when a touch of the provided lower screen button angles it vertically. We can't really see the benefit of a rotating screen, or its variety theme that allows you to have its smart graphics displayed in different colours, but presumably it gives BYD salespeople something to talk about in the showroom. There's certainly plenty on this display. You can, if you wish, divide the screen into two segments, And all models get navigation, onboard 4G connectivity, a 6-speaker DAB audio system, cloud services, intelligent voice control, and Apple CarPlay, Android Auto smartphone mirroring. Unfortunately, it also includes all the climate functions. We prefer for these to be separated out into physical controls, as with the rival Vauxhall Corsa Electric. This monitor displays its wares via 2 home screens. One of them allows you to configure the 3 most regularly used features. Here we've selected navigation, Spotify and radio. Or you can swipe left for the usual little icons, which include a smart charging option for setting your battery replenishment times. It's quite an airy feeling cabin, especially with this big panoramic glass roof fitted, and there's plenty of storage space, including a big glove box and decently sized door pockets. Not having to have a transmission tunnel has freed up space for this dual level centre console. Below is open storage, while above, ahead of the twin cup holders, there's a deep lidded stowage area with nearby twin USB-C ports and a 12-volt socket. Further back between the seats, this top model gets a wireless phone charging mat too. You don't sit particularly high up. The driver's seat lacks adjustable lumbar support, as with rivals, but is reasonably comfortable for longer trips. Impressively, power operation for both front seats is standard across the range. And there's decent all-round visibility too, though that's slightly impeded by the chunky rear C-pillars, so you'll need the standard parking sensors and 360-degree rear view camera. Let's take a look at the back. EV Super Minis are usually vastly more spacious in the rear than their combustion counterparts. Will that be the case here? Well, yes. Basically, there's as much space back here for legs and shoulders as you might previously have been used to in a Golf-sized family hatch in the class above. That perception aided by the totally flat floor and, in this case, by that non-opening panoramic glass roof. That flat floor will make it easier to accommodate a third centre-seated adult in the unlikely event that you should want to cram one in. The only thing we'd slightly question back here is headspace. It's very evident that you're sitting on top of all those battery cells. Overall though, there really is a surprising amount of rear seat room, and considerably more than you'd get in a rival MG4. A 6-footer could sit behind a similarly sized driver in relative comfort, which wouldn't normally be the case in a car of this size. Other things you wouldn't usually expect in a Super Mini class car include this armrest with its twin cup holders and these beady little round overhead reading lights. BYD provides twin USB-C ports back here and a useful little centre storage cubby. Plus there are seat back pockets with useful smaller phone pockets and reasonably sized door bins. But the headrests are of the kind that uncomfortably dig into your shoulders until you raise them. Luggage space though isn't quite so impressive. You don't get any frunk space for the charging leads beneath the bonnet, so everything has to go back here, where capacity is rated at 345 litres. That's 18 litres less than an MG4, but way more than the other Chinese player in this segment, the GWM Aura 3. It's quite a usable space, facilitated by a useful adjustable height boot floor. You get a light here, but there are no bag hooks. The lower area gets these netted left and right side storage areas. It'd help keep things tidy if you specified the available rubber mat that we have here for the upper part of the cargo base. As usual with a small EV, there's no underfloor provision for any sort of spare wheel. Fold the 60/40 split rear bench and up to 1,310 litres of space becomes available. As with the Atto 3, BYD isn't looking to substantially undercut its main competitors on price, but the Dolphin still looks decent value. Well, for an EV Super Mini anyway. At the time of filming in early summer 2024, the brand was asking from around £25,500 for this model, a fraction below its most direct Chinese EV rival, the MG4. If you're shopping in this segment, you'll have noted that this is well above what you'd pay for the very cheapest small EVs, the Dacia Spring and the Citroën 𝗙cie𝗹. But remember, you get a bigger battery here than is fitted to cars like those. The other Chinese alternative in the Dolphin segment is the 𝗙dzie𝗹𝗹rie, but one of those costs quite a bit more, from around £32,000 as we filmed. There are 4 Dolphin trim levels with base active spec. You get for the starting price just mentioned really only for urban folk, using the smaller 44.9 kilowatt-hour battery and the feeblest 90 PS motor. You'd probably be better off finding the £1,000 more that BYD wants for the next version up, Boost spec, which mates the 44.9 kilowatt-hour battery with a considerably faster 176 PS motor. Now, if you'll occasionally be heading beyond the city limits, then you'll want a Dolphin with the larger 60.4 kilowatt-hour battery that we're trying here, borrowed from the brand's larger 𝗙ście𝗹𝗹𝗇 model. In which case, you'll need a budget starting from around £30,000. There are 2 variants at this level, Comfort or, as in this case, Design. Both mate this power pack with a 204 PS motor, also borrowed from the 𝗙ście𝗹𝗹𝗇. BYD's big market advantage is that, unlike other brands, it makes all its EV drivetrain components itself. Batteries, motors, control units, semiconductors, the lot. Which is why, instead of waiting months for your car, as is sometimes the case with EVs from some other brands in this segment, a Dolphin can be with you in no more than a couple of weeks. And it'll be very well equipped. All variants get LED headlamps and tail lights, bicolour alloy wheels, rear parking sensors, a 360-degree rear view camera, adaptive cruise control, keyless entry, metallic paint, and a heat pump to preserve winter EV range. There's also a vehicle-to-load function that allows you to power external devices like lamps and laptops from the car's drive battery, and a set of 4 driving modes: Eco, Normal, Sport and Snow. Inside every Dolphin, there's a 5-inch LCD instrument panel and a 12.8-inch electrically rotatable touchscreen with intelligent voice control, navigation, onboard 4G connectivity, a 6-speaker DAB audio system, and Apple CarPlay, Android Auto smartphone mirroring. There's also an 8-year cloud service that gives you 1.5 gigabyte of data per month for free for the first 2 years. And a BYD app that allows you to remotely interact with your car. Plus there's vegan leather upholstery and power adjustable front seats. Bear in mind though that with active spec you don't get the suppler multi-link rear suspension fitted elsewhere in the range, and there's only a rather feeble 7 kilowatt onboard charger, so your Dolphin's battery will take longer to replenish. Now, for the more sophisticated springing and a decently competitive 11 kilowatt onboard charger, you'll need to stretch at least as far as Boost spec, which also includes larger 17-inch wheels. Go for the bigger 60.4 kilowatt-hour battery and you get a little more kit. Comfort spec gives you power folding mirrors, front parking sensors, heated front seats, and an optimized audio system. And this top design model adds all the trendy touches, tricolour alloy wheels and a choice of 2 contrasting colours for the bonnet and the roof, jet black or, as in this case, urban grey. Plus, design spec gives you a panoramic glass roof, rear privacy glass and a wireless phone charging mat. All models get an equally high standard of included safety kit. There's automatic emergency braking, predictive collision warning, lane departure warning and prevention, emergency lane keeping assist, blind spot detection, front cross traffic alert with front cross traffic brake, also rear cross traffic alert with rear cross traffic brake, plus traffic sign recognition, door opening warning, and indirect driver fatigue management. And of course you get all the usual front, side and curtain airbags, along with an emergency call system to advise the authorities of your exact GPS location if they ever go off. As with the 𝗙mě, the battery used here is of the unique to BYD blade variety, which incorporates cells mounted in strips directly on the battery pack, which the Chinese maker says allows for a much higher cell density than a conventional battery could offer. So a much higher driving range then? Afraid not. The 265-mile range that you get with the 60.4 kilowatt-hour battery is reasonably class competitive, but way off being class leading. A 64 kilowatt-hour MG4 manages 281 miles, and a Hyundai Kona Electric manages 304 miles, for instance. BYD claims an efficiency figure of 4.4 miles per kilowatt hour. Expect more like 3.5 miles per kilowatt hour if you're doing a bit of highway driving too. We've actually done fractionally better on this test, around 4 miles per kilowatt hour, which equates to a real-world range of around 240 miles. That's required regular engagement of the eco drive mode and the fiercest high level of brake regen. To preserve driving range in cold conditions, a heat pump is standard. Obviously, the driving range drops quite a lot with the smaller 44.9 kilowatt-hour battery to 211 miles with the active version and 193 miles with the boost variant. You'd think that BYD building, designing and owning this car's entire set of drivetrain EV components, including battery and semiconductors, would allow the company to make the Dolphin the first car in the segment to offer a truly modern 800-volt electrical architecture capable of allowing charging with the new breed of ultra-rapid DC public chargers. But no, it's the same conventional 400-volt system as everyone else uses. Base active trim gets only a feeble 7 kilowatt onboard charger, which can only power from a public DC charger at up to 60 kilowatts. All the other Dolphins come with a more sensibly powerful 11 kilowatt onboard charger, which when connected to a public 150 kilowatt DC charger allows the Dolphin to be charged to a still rather modest maximum of 88 kilowatts. At that speed, a 30 to 80% boost takes 29 minutes. Quite a few competitors can do a 10 to 80% charge in that kind of time though, most notably the rival MG4 long range, which can charge at up to 135 kilowatts. A 30 to 80% DC boost with the Dolphin's smaller battery takes 28 minutes. What about charging from home? Well, an AC charge from a typical 7.4 kilowatt home single-phase wall box with the smaller battery takes around 6 hours. With the bigger battery, it takes 9 hours and 42 minutes from empty to full. If you can use an 11 kilowatt three-phase charger, that figure falls to 6.5 hours. What else? Well, the warranty lasts for 4 years or 70,000 miles, whichever comes first. The brand's Blade battery gets its own separate warranty for 8 years and 125,000 miles. Insurance groups vary quite a lot, from Group 23 for the base active version to Group 33 for this bigger battery design variant. Garage maintenance should be affordable, but much will depend on how close you are to a BYD service centre. At the time of this test in summer 2024, the brand had 4 of these in the UK. As we filmed, the low 2% benefit in kind taxation bracketing that applies to all EVs until 2025 would see users of this one typically paying £121 a year. And also until 2025, as with all EVs, you'll get free VED road tax and free entry into the London ULEZ and congestion zones. Depreciation is reasonable. The slightly larger BYD 𝗙mě retains around 57% of its value over 3 years and 36,000 miles, and we wouldn't expect a Dolphin to be much different. If you've EV aspirations, will this little supermini allow you to build your dreams? Perhaps. The 𝗙mě may have been BYD's first car in our market, but the Dolphin is undoubtedly the model that will establish this well-funded but fledgling Chinese brand. Yes, there's a big step up in price for one of these if you're graduating on from a combustion-powered small hatch. At the same time though, we can't help but think that many of the people currently paying up to £10,000 or so more for an only fractionally larger compact EV hatch like, say, the Kia Niro EV and the Volkswagen ID.3 would probably be just as happy in a Dolphin. So, should you take the plunge with one of these? If you don't care about choosing an unknown brand and can work around the restraints of the company's still rather restricted dealer network, then a Dolphin certainly ought to make the short list of someone in search of a small EV hatch. It's a car that sets out to flip a few established norms, and you might like it for that.